Hello and welcome to Stupid Ancient History with Midgley
and Taylor and our expert, non-expert and special guest James, the science toolboy.
As always, we're wearing togas, our kylixes are full, and we're introducing who are the Persians.
I may as well just ask, who are the Persians?
Well, for the purpose of the GCSE, the Persians relates to the rule of four key Persian kings. So we've got Cyrus the Great, Cambyses II, Darius I and Xerxes. And these four grew and ruled the Persian Empire between 559 and 465 BC.
That's quite a while ago.
Yep, yes it is. But unlike the depth studies, because there's a whole bunch of them, one thing it's always a good idea to just compare each Persian to the last Persian.
Do they stack up well, or...?
They stack up.
Okay. Where was the Persian Empire?
So the Persian Empire grew effectively out of what's modern day Iran. And at its height it spread right throughout southern Central Europe, the Middle East, from northern Greece, Egypt to the Levant, and even as far as India and southern Russia.
That's quite a big stretch of land.
Yeah, it is quite big. So the Persian Empire is often described as the world's first superpower.
Okay.
So this is before America exists.
Or
China. These are the ones that were the first to do it.
Where do we get all of our info about the Persians?
So there's a bit of a problem with the Persians, more of an issue than we have with like the Romans, say for example, because we don't have many surviving Persian sources that tell us the whole story of this particular period.
How come?
It's a problem with how the Persians recorded things. We do have like archaeological evidence and little clay tablets written in cuneiform, but a lot of what the Persians wrote was more kind of logistical information, like receipts and instructions on how to do things, rather than big long stories.
Okay.
They don't have the same kind of narrative that the Greeks had and Western societies had. So we've got a few kind of funerary objects saying this guy was great because look what he did, but they don't really tell the story. So because of that, we have to use Herodotus, who's a Greek historian. He's called the father of history because he is the first historian. He comes up with the word history, and he also has an epic beard.
How epic?
It's a dual helixical beard.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is it longer and bigger than yours?
It's mine is a mere wisp compared to his full-on luscious Greek masterpiece of a beard.
Delightful.
I really like Herodotus.
So he's got his own central heating system then as well.
Where did he get his info then, if he just had all these receipts and stuff?
He does a lot of travelling.
Okay.
But we need to think about this as well. There's also a negative aspect, regardless of how much Mr. Mitchell likes him. So he's also called the father of lies as well. Bit harsh.
It is. So if he's the master of lies, what are the problems with him?
So the problem with him, the first one, is that there's no kind of mould or map to follow because he's the first historian. There isn't really anyone else that he can learn from, basically. Many of his sources are spoken accounts, so they're not massively reliable because, like we always say, with spoken accounts they can get changed, things can get edited out, things can get put in that weren't there. It's a bit like the problem you have with Chinese whispers.
Yeah.
It'll start as one thing and then it'll mutate into something different. And he also includes a lot of things which are more kind of folklore, tall tales, so they're probably not true.
Okay.
The other thing we should point out is he is a Greek writing about when the Persians invaded Greece. So he's got a vested interest.
He's got an agenda.
He's got an agenda, but not as much as you think. Other problems we've got is, I always refer to him as the Grandpa Simpson of historians.
Did he have an onion on his belt?
Pretty much. But he'll start one story and then all the way through Herodotus he keeps doing these little veering offs and little asides, and he'll be telling you one story and then stop and tell you the story of someone else's dad who was a ghost.
Okay.
True, it's in there. Spartan king whose dad was a ghost. But we said he did travel widely because he was independently wealthy, he travelled all throughout the Greek and Persian world and Egypt, and he's really very well researched. And even though people like Plutarch call him the father of lies because of some of his wilder claims, it turns out though, I'm backing Herodotus strongly now, turns out some of his more bizarre claims actually turned out to be true. So the really good example of that is where he describes giant gold digging ants.
How does that turn out to be true?
They're not actually ants. It turns out what he was writing about was marmots. And he didn't have a word for marmots, and the people who told him the story didn't have a word for marmots, so they described them, and he thought they were ants. And it turns out in the foothills of the Himalayas there are marmots that dig in. When they dig the burrows, it's common for them to kick out little bits of gold.
No way.
See, I seem really stupid now because I don't even know what a marmot is, so there you go.
It's not an ant.
Right.
But what's most important is Herodotus was right.
Would it go well with chips?
Probably better than an ant.
Mm.
You can buy lots of chips with the gold they've dug up.
So basically, it's 4 kings,
Roughly covering 100 years,
some pretty major conflicts.
and a whole lot of tall tales.
I'm looking forward to this.
So there you have it, our quick introduction to the Persians. Thank you for listening, we hope it's been useful. Leave us a comment below, and as always, until next time, goodbye.
Bye!
Bye.